So what we're going to be making together today is this HTV design on canvas shoes for kids. This is a kid size shoe, but you could adjust the size to fit any space. So we've got this cute little frog, cute little mushroom. You can change up the colors however you want. I'm going to suggest that for this class today, for actually putting HTV on shoes, you don't use the Cricut brand unless it's the glitter. No shade to the Cricut iron-on vinyl. I use it for a lot of things, but the way that that adhesive attaches to fabric, it needs to cool off some. So you put it down on your t-shirt or bag or whatever, press it down flat, you move the easy press or whatever you've used, you let it cool down, and that's what really makes that adhesive stick to the fabric is as it cools back down. And then when it's cool, you can peel away that plastic carrier sheet and everything stays stuck down to your fabric. If you pull it up while it's still warm and that glue hasn't set, the HTV, the vinyl layer, will start to peel up from your project. As you will notice as we're going through these shoes, you've kind of got some curve, right? So even though we're taping things down really well, I have found that it is really hard to get the Cricut brand of just regular HTV to stick on a project like this because you've heated it up, you've warmed up that glue, and it's already trying to pull and separate, peel up away from that curved surface before that adhesive can totally set. So your alternatives are the Caesar brand there, and it works really good. Another brand that's really great to work with on projects like this, where you want that glue to set up really quickly, you want to be able to take the plastic off while it's still warm, is the Polytape Turbo Flex. So if you can find a place that is selling the Polytape brand and look for their Turbo Flex, you can iron that in about 3 to 5 seconds. And so it's going to get stuck down really fast. You can layer it. You can peel the carrier sheet off while it's warm and it stays stuck down to your project. Another thing really quick, if you are doing lots of layers, like here on our mushroom, we have 2 layers, on our frog, we've got a few layers. Regular HTV, like just the regular finish on top, you can layer several times, 4, 5, maybe even 6 colors. But if you have a glitter HTV or a patterned HTV, it's much harder for another layer to stick down onto that even when you apply heat and pressure. So you can see here on the mushroom shoe, we're going to use a glitter layer and it goes on top of a regular, kind of flat, no fancy finish. So just keep that in mind as you're picking out your colors and your types of iron-on that you're going to use on these shoes or future shoe projects that you do. You're going to, of course, need some shoes, and they need to be like fabric canvas shoes so that the iron-on vinyl will stick to it and you won't melt the material up the shoes. Then you need your HTV in whatever colors or patterns you want to use. I have a measuring tape and some heat resistant tape, a weeding hook, some scissors. Then of course I'm going to be using my Cricut Joy Extra. Then you also need some kind of mini iron. I'm going to be using my Cricut Mini Easy Press, and this one is great because it has a very pointed, and some of the other small handheld irons that you can get are kind of rounded on all the edges, and that makes it harder to maneuver into the small parts of the shoe. And then honestly, the best tool to use for this is one of these little mini irons. This is a Clover brand, and I have had one before and could not find it for doing this tutorial. You'll see me using the Easy Press Mini. Like I said, if you have an even smaller one, then use that. Open up Design Space and change your machine to the machine that you're going to be using. This project could be done with any Cricut or Silhouette machine. I happen to be using my Cricut Joy Extra. Then you are going to upload the SVG for this class. It's a little frog sitting on a mushroom. So click continue, click upload, and it's going to bring all those pieces into Design Space. Go ahead and ungroup the design so that we can bring the mushroom to one side and have the frog on the other side. I'm going to be putting these on the white kid size shoes, and I measured the top front part, the area where these designs are going to go, and so I just created an oval that kind of matched that size, and then I'm going to make sure that my frog and then my mushroom will fit nicely inside that space. Depending on the shoe size that you're using and the area that you have available, your designs might be a different size. First of all, I'm going to use my purple iron-on and my purple glitter iron-on to make the mushroom. So I'm going to change these shapes to a couple of different colors of purple. And then what I want to do is actually make a whole background of the mushroom that I'm going to do in the lighter purple. And then I need to cut out those little circle shapes, the little accents on the cap of the mushroom, because that's going to be the glitter vinyl, and the glitter needs to be a top layer. So I'm going to duplicate the mushroom shape and weld one set all together. So now that is our purple background. And then with just the cap and the little accent circles, select those things and slice, and that will cut away the little circles from what's going to be the glitter layer. Now, when those are layered up on the shoe, it'll look like this, and the purple background will show through the cutout circles on the glitter. All right, so we have a green background for the whole frog. And then what I could have done here is actually take this little white piece that when it's lined up properly, it creates the legs. You can see the little frog's stomach and where the front legs cross in front of the body. So I ended up cutting that out separately from white vinyl and layering it on. But since my shoe is white, one thing I could have done was put that in the right place and then slice it out of that green background layer. And so then it would show the white shoe through the cutout green vinyl of the frog. Okay, now we're ready to make it. So I'm going to click on matte. None of the vinyls that I'm using are the smart vinyl for the Joy Extra that wouldn't need to use the matte. So everything I'll be cutting a piece and placing it on a mat to cut it through the machine. Since we're using iron-on vinyl, each one of these needs to be mirrored. So I'm going to go through and do that really quick. I would love for Cricut to provide an option here where you could just click one button and it would mirror all of the mats. So maybe if enough of us write in with that suggestion, then they would do that for us. Okay, so once every mat is mirrored, then we can click the continue button. You're going to select the device that you'll be using. And then once it's connected to the correct machine, then you're going to choose the material. So I'm using Everyday Iron-On. I'm going to click the box that says Remember Material Settings so that I don't have to choose it every time I switch to a new mat. Okay, so you're going to put the material on the mat, push it up against the rollers, and it's going to automatically load in. It's going to check the size of the mat, make sure everything is good. And then it's going to have you push the go button on the screen or on your phone if you're using the app. And then it will cut the shape. When it's finished, click the unload button in Design Space, and then the mat will unload from the machine and you can peel the vinyl away from the mat. Just set it off to the side, and then we're going to repeat with the other vinyl colors. As a reminder, since we're cutting HTV, the shiny side or the plastic carrier sheet goes down. That's why we did the mirror of the design before in Design Space. So just like before, we will load the mat by pressing it up against the rollers. Then when it's ready, you'll push the Go button in Design Space, and then the machine will cut out the shape. Repeat with all the remaining mats. If you're using a layer or two of glitter vinyl like I did, then make sure you change the material setting to be a glitter iron-on, or it won't cut all the way through. When all the shapes are cut, you're just going to weed away all of the extra vinyl. Be careful that you don't set any of these vinyl pieces down with the sticky sides together because they can get stuck that way. All right, so on this shoe, we're going to start with the purple mushroom. So I'm going to take the light purple, that's the whole entire shape, that's going to be our bottom layer. And I'm going to trim away the carrier sheet fairly closely just so that it lays down nice on the area that I have available on the shoe. You want to do something to support the inside of the shoe, so you can take a rolled up washcloth or a sock and stuff it down in there so that it can support and hold up the canvas from the inside of the shoe while you're putting pressure with the iron on the outside. I'm going to turn on my Easy Press Mini to the level 2 heat, and then I'm going to take some of this blue heat resistant tape and secure down the mushroom where I want it to go on the shoe. When the Easy Press beeps and the lights turn green, so you know it's come up to temperature, you can start pressing and sliding that over the shape of the vinyl. Make sure you get to all of the edges and be careful to not touch the rubber sole because it will melt. This should take about 20 or 30 seconds. Then you can peel away the carrier sheet and the blue tape. And then I'm going to take the glitter layer, trim it close to the edges again, and tape it down. And I'm going to use the same like clear carrier sheet that I did before, just so that I know my bottom layer is going to be covered and the Easy Press Mini won't touch the vinyl directly. Same as before, I'm going to take about 20 or 30 seconds and carefully move the iron over the whole design of the glitter, and then make sure to not touch the sole of the shoe. Since the plastic sheet was cut so closely to the design, I used the weeding hook to grab under the edge of it and pull that off. So now the mushroom shoe is finished. For the frog design, we're going to do the same thing. We just have a few more layers to do. Start with the green base layer and tape it down well and press the whole thing, and then you can peel up the carrier sheet. The next thing I'm going to do is the white shape, and like I said, this is the one that in Design Space I could have sliced this out and then you would skip this step because you wouldn't have this white to layer on. It would just show through and you would see the white shoe. But since I've cut the white vinyl, I'm going to place it where it belongs. I've cut away some of the carrier sheet but left a piece kind of at the top so I could hold on to it. Then I'm going to take the carrier sheet from the main frog layer to cover it all up, and then just work on pressing the white vinyl. Next, I'm going to cut out the black details. This is the eyes and the smile. Then I'll cover everything with the original frog carrier sheet. Then I'll use just the pointed end of the mini Easy Press to go over the eyes and the mouth several times. And you can kind of see here that I'm struggling with getting it to stay stuck down, and that's because this was the Cricut brand of regular HTV. After I had pressed it, it still wanted to come up, and so I covered it with a towel because it was still really hot, and just used my fingers to press down and keep some pressure there while that adhesive was cooling, and then I was able to get the eyes and the mouth to stay. Then I did the pink for the cheeks. And then finally, the tiny little white pieces for the little eyeball glints. They just really give him character, don't you think? Always use that carrier sheet to layer over any layer of vinyl that has already been applied. All right, so with all of our different pieces, here are our finished shoes. This here is a shoe that I will be able to wear. You can see how small and detailed the Cricut Joy Extra was able to cut out these really small, delicate, kind of wildflower designs. So again, I just measured the space here for how wide it was going to be, and then the height for the two sides, and I just made it fit. Weeded out all of the pieces and then lined it up, taped it, and pressed it on it just like I did with all of the other ones for the kids' pair of shoes.